Going to give us a report of the Credentials Committee, and we have spaces for new members. So I'll turn that over to Bob and let him tell you about that.
Okay, the Credential Subcommittee met and vetted candidates to fill the vacancies that exist for the Christian County Republican Central Committee members. As chairman of the Credentials Subcommittee, I move that Bill and Helen Elmer be installed to fill the Garden Grove Township vacancies.
Would Bill and Helen stand up, please? I need someone to make a motion that we accept Bill and oh, I'm sorry, you made a motion. We need a second on this?
No.
No, don't need a second?
Well, if I might.
Yeah, go ahead.
When a subcommittee makes a recommendation, because the committee is made up of more than one person, it don't need a second. So basically, for future reference, when a committee makes a recommendation, that recommendation don't need a second. It then becomes a motion and a second, open to discussion and debate.
Then we need to go ahead and vote on it.
I call for discussion, if there's any discussion.
Is there any discussion on these folks? Okay, raise your right hands if you'd like to conduct them. And opposed, the same sign. Welcome. Appreciate you joining us. Yeah.
Always have a campaign.
Somewhat.
Kevin's parents. Kevin Elmer's parents, I should have said something. Welcome. And then also auxiliary members, we've had these on the papers for a long time and still have not voted them in, so tonight we're going to vote them in. Unless you don't want any of them, then we'll vote them out, I guess. We'll have Bob read those names and how that's to be done.
As chairman of the Credential Subcommittee, I move the following slate of auxiliary members be installed. For Riverside, Eddie Campbell and Karen Matthews. East Finley, Don Moglin, Madeline Ramsey. McCracken, George Burns, Joyce Burns. North Lynn, Robert Stilson, Laura Stilson. Union Chapel, Pat Hackett. Northview, Clayton Jones, Sharon Jones. North Galloway, Terry Campbell and Melissa Hart. South Galloway, Jerry Campbell. That is the slate.
That's the slate.
Could you repeat the East Finley, please?
Don Moglin and Madeline Ramsey.
Thank you.
Ronnie White put me in for that one. He's Finley.
We'll have a short discussion, 60 seconds for a question.
Okay, as a Finley committee woman, I nominated Michelle Cooper. Did the committee make any attempt to speak with my daughter? She is a registered voter. She has extensive contact with the members of East Finley Precinct. I'd like to know what the vetting process was.
I think, since this was a committee report, we have to vote it up or down. Am I correct, Steve?
Well, yeah, but I mean, there can be questions about it. I mean,
I have an honest question.
Yeah.
Being the active East Finley, I have nothing against Madeline. She and I know that.
No, that's fine. Thank you.
But I would submit it even.
She wasn't on the list of people on the slate. I can see that.
I have a question, same one as was just asked. I would like, I am the current chairwoman from Union Chapel, and I too would like to know how they were vetted. I was not consulted on a recommendation at all for my
Did you have
Yes.
a nomination?
I was not consulted at all for a recommendation from my district, and I know that there wasn't one, but I didn't hear a name put in for a male member, for a male associate member. I know that if I would have been asked about, I would have opposed the nomination of Pat Hackett as an associate member from Union Chapel. So I too also would like to know a little bit more about the vetting process, and I would like to meet each of these people.
Go ahead and tell
It was announced, I can't remember which meeting, Bob, you maybe look at the minutes, that we were accepting nominations for auxiliary positions. They would be submitted to Bob.
I did that.
Some submitted them to Alec. They took them to,
Like you and Bob Hackett and Alex, and Michelle Cooper.
I don't know if I was necessarily on the list.
I have a copy here with the CT.
Okay.
Patsy? I don't have her set down. Pardon me?
As soon as she sets it down.
Okay, well,
Submitted in December.
but, and that's fine, Pam, but it wasn't necessary to send it to me, is what I'm saying. But,
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
I think the motion, or the minutes actually read, it would be submitted to Bob as the chairman of the credentials committee. Somebody submitted one to Alec, and they looked, and they asked me to sit in on their meeting just to make sure they were in tune with the rules. And there were some townships where there were 2 people submitted. And just so everybody understands, according to the bylaws, the people that nominate can be the committee man or woman of that township and the legislative chair of that legislative district. The legislative chair of the 140th district, which is the eastern part of the county, the legislative chair of that is Walt Martins. The legislative chair of the western part of the county, the 139th, is myself. And then we have another district over there that Darrell and Carolyn are in, but they're the only people in our county that's in that. I made some recommendations. If nobody else made any recommendations in that township, then they didn't have nobody to consider. As far as, Lacey, as far as being consulted, I mean, you and I have discussed this before. You knew who I was going to nominate. If you had somebody.
I didn't know that you, I don't think you told me who you were going to nominate. I may have been suspicious if you nominated somebody.
And I believe my exact wording to you was get used to it, that's who I'm going to nominate.
No, I don't think we had that
It was right
discussion.
downstairs to 139th organization.
Well, that was for that reorganization for that position. I don't think it was for the associate position, but
You knew
I'll
basically
I'll
who
agree,
I was
I'll
going
agree
on.
to disagree in
Okay.
regard to that.
Irregardless, the instructions were given to the assembly, if you had somebody to nominate, submit the nominations to Bob. The credentials committee looked at all the nominees. They made their evaluation based on who they thought was the best fit for the Central Committee. And, you know, I say best fit, not saying somebody else was far worse, they just felt like this person would suit what their idea of a Central Committee person ought to be. And, you know, and Pam, I respect your
I
daughter,
just
but
want to make sure that my daughter was
Yeah.
on that list of being considered.
yeah, believe me, everybody that was submitted, their name was brought up. I was there.
Patsy, I see your hand up there.
In answer to Pam's question, I am on the credentials committee, and we did consider your daughter, and we did consider Madeline, and we considered that your daughter was much younger, and Madeline is already doing a lot of our work, and so we felt like that your daughter has future time that she can be involved, and we need Madeline because she is a great treasurer, so we did consider and talk about your daughter.
That's all I want to
Okay,
know.
thank you
Is there
very
any
much.
question before we vote?
Is the intention to vote on these as a slate?
If that is brought to the slate, we will vote as a slate. Is there more questions?
I'd like to make the motion then that we, when we get to that point, that we vote on them as individuals instead of as a slate.
Motion.
Second.
Motion's already
No,
made.
We already
we
have
do
that.
that.
We have a motion.
That's an amendment to the recommendation. I mean, you just vote on the amendment up or down, and then,
Okay, there's
There's already a motion on the floor.
well, they probably can be amended.
there's an amendment that has been, Carol, one more thing, Carol, and then, there is an amendment on the floor. So, we need to vote on who would like to vote on this slate, not as a slate, but as individuals. If you want to vote individuals, raise your right hand, please. Somebody help me count here.